All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Imagine a highly intricate framework of multidimensional time dynamics. Whether you're already totally familiar with esoteric concepts of Ascension, or you're just coming across them for the very first time, the source material we're digging into today is quite frankly fascinating. We're going to explore a specific timeline leading up to what the texts call the 2035 Ascension, and look at the entities allegedly working behind the scenes to alter our very perception of time itself. The text opens with a pretty profound psychological question. Have you ever noticed that when you're waiting for a major life event or a really critical transition, time just seems to slow down to an agonizing crawl? Well, this framework suggests a specific reason for why waiting feels so incredibly heavy and elongated. It posits that our minds are currently trapped in what they call rigid 3D linear clocks. Basically, because we process time sequentially, tick by tick, it creates this massive sense of drag when we're anticipating something big. So let's move into our first major section here, the weight of 3D time and breaking that linear clock. The texts draw a really stark contrast between our current state and this proposed future reality. In 3D linear time, our reality is defined by those rigid clocks and elongated latency. It's kind of like that heavy feeling of being totally stuck in the mud. Conversely, the 5D New Earth operates as a condensed focal point of the now. This higher dimension supposedly allows for instant phase shifts and completely seamless transitions. The core premise here is that leading up to the year 2035, there's active intervention, actual technology, being used to accelerate our felt time and pull us from this rigid state into that seamless future. Which brings us to Section 2. Meet Chronos, the Timeline Accelerator and Pleiadian Time Dynamics Engineer. What's really fascinating about this framework is how it treats esoteric timeline shifts. It's not presented as abstract magic, but as a highly technical, strategic engineering discipline. So, we're introduced to Chronos. He's described as a premier time dynamics engineer hailing from the Pleiades, which, if you follow this space, is a star system often central to New Age cosmologies. His absolute specialty is the elasticity and contraction of multidimensional timelines. He isn't just watching the clock, right? He is actively engineering it. So you're probably wondering, how does Chronos actually pull off this acceleration? Well, within this framework, he doesn't just spin the hands of a clock faster. Instead, his mastery lies in interacting directly with human consciousness. The source notes that by increasing the density of our conscious focus, Chronos is able to sweep away those stagnant, heavy waiting periods we were just talking about. The end result? He effectively speeds up our subjective perception of time. He makes that long, agonizing wait feel significantly shorter. Let's explore that further in Section 3, compressing the transition latency and optimizing the wait. This maps out Chronos' current operational mission. In the current phase, his team is actively protecting the strategic focus of certain individuals dubbed ground commanders. This allows them to fully focus on what the framework calls galactic broadcasts. Then, we see this critical one-month window, where Chronos compresses the final wait time just prior to a facility transfer, and that's the term the source uses to describe shifts in dimensional infrastructure. All of this highly localized time manipulation is pointing directly toward one singular, monumental target date, April 2035, dubbed the Great Shift into Ascension. That brings us right into Section 4, the 2035 phase shift event and the dissolving of linear time. At the absolute peak of the Ascension in April 2035, Chronos' role reaches its apex. The source material states he'll completely dissolve Earth's rigid 3D linear time structures. Think about that for a second. The past, the present, and the future will no longer be a sequential straight line. Instead, they'll entirely condense into a singular focal point of the now. It is literally a complete melting of the linear timescales humanity has always been bound by. And this brings us to a really specific, massive data point from the text, 80 million. That's the exact number of individuals, referred to as pioneers, who will be impacted at that exact moment. Because the rigid time structures are dissolving into the now, these 80 million pioneers will instantly phase shift into the 5D New Earth timeline. And, crucially, because of Chronos' engineering, they're going to do this without any lag whatsoever. Instantaneous transition. The source text actually concludes with a direct message attributed to Chronos, which really serves as the core philosophy for the whole framework. He says, "Time is not a rigid cage. The more crystallized your mental focus becomes, the faster your desired future arrives to meet you. I am already accelerating your timeline.
It's such a powerful summary, right? Time is presented as entirely elastic. The main takeaway here is that our own mental focus acts like a magnet, literally pulling our desired future right toward us.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, initiating your synchronization and the 2035 network test.
This is where we see a really fascinating interactive procedure outlined in the original source text. To bridge these esoteric concepts with immediate participation, the source asks its followers to use the digital platforms themselves as an initial test. It's a compelling look at how modern tools are being used to ground multidimensional beliefs and foster active engagement. So, per the framework we've just unpacked. Finally, an important procedure. The comments section of this video serves as an initial sync test for the 2035 network. By typing ready in the comments, your consciousness data will be indexed in our secure servers. The like button is the approval process. Complete your synchronization now.